Great to see you. Always. Getting out. Sorry. Hello, everyone. This lovely Tuesday fall afternoon. So those of you that have come to a training with me before, please know that it is very informal, and I really do want it to be a conversation and not me talking at you. I don't think that's really beneficial to anyone. But I'm excited to talk to you guys about working with buyers in a shifting market. Who in here has been in real estate longer than prior to 2020? Okay, we got solid 3 people. That's good. Can you guys tell me a little bit about your experience working prior to 2020 and what that looked like for you versus maybe the last 2 years? Share.
I can share with you. So back in like 2015, 2016, buyers could be very picky, and we could set up a showing and then go back and see it 2 or 3 weeks later. So that hasn't been the case for a while. And then there was, oh, we think that's overpriced. We're gonna just wait till they drop their price. From a listing standpoint, my neighbor's house was on the market for over 6 months, and that was just like a regular thing. Like you just knew it was gonna be on the market for a while. It wasn't gonna be a quick turnaround time.
Right. Anyone else? Hunter?
Well, like before 2020, like COVID and anything, you could still get stuff for under list price, and houses like $400,000 house was for a $400,000 house back then. It's almost like a $700,000 house now.
Totally.
And we still have some clients that were just kind of like looking around when 19 not so serious, and now that they are serious, kind of hard for them to put in an offer just because
it's right. The last 2 years is a whole different ballgame than the market before that. And I think, people that have only been in the market for the last 2 years are feeling a shift right now, but I'm here to let you know, that shift is, I think, necessary, and truly, please do not be scared of it. I was looking at numbers the other day, and the average number of offers today is 2.8 offers per property. So has that significantly come down? Yes, but is it parallel to 2017, 2018? Absolutely. And that was considered a healthy, still competitive market. So the big thing I would like to just highlight is this market is all about communication and skills. And the last 2 years was a lot of just oh, you want my firstborn child? Oh, you want 50,000 over? What do you want? We'll give it to you. And it really didn't take a lot of communication. It didn't take relationships, and it didn't take negotiation. And I think we're moving back into that market of really working with your peers and your clients to get to the finish line. So I guess the first place where communication is coming in key right now, I think, is really educating your clients on the market and what that looks like. So yes, our market is slowing. Yes, it is shifting, but it is not stopped. It is not, it's not tanking. We're not seeing that. So kind of having that talk on hey, yeah, it is slowing down, but we're still seeing multiple offers. We're still seeing strong offers. So, bracing them for what they're going into and letting them know, yeah, you might be the only offer on a house, but you want it to be a strong offer so they don't wait and feel like another offer is coming in. So again, kind of preparing your clients on the front end. And then my big thing at this market is going to be about the ability to communicate with that other agent. So if I have a client that I know is interested in a property, I'm potentially reaching out ahead of time to find out before I show, do you have offers on the table? Do you know when you're presenting? I think we used to see that in the private remarks, and people are moving away from that. So having the conversation out of the gate so that you can have your buyer prepared as you're showing the property is important. I will say, who has seen on the listing side when they have a property go live, all of a sudden they have 4 offers in their inbox and no one texted you, called you, let you know that those were coming? Has anyone experienced that? Yeah, people are just throwing offers, not even reaching out. People were putting everything you needed to know in the private remarks, and offers were just being sent. And that's fine, but that's not really helping your client in this market. I think it's about reaching out and creating a connection with another agent, letting them know, we're gonna be great to work with. We will be timely, what works for your sellers in terms of timeline. And out of the gate, creating that connection, because so many agents just, we're throwing everything away, which you needed to do to get an accepted offer, but that's no longer the case. So creating that connection with that other agent so they know who you are, that you stand out if it's a pile of 3 offers. They know who my clients are, what their goals are in purchasing, and what that transaction is going to look like before they even present. So yeah, I think that relationship piece is huge. And then on the back end, that communication piece throughout the transaction, we are seeing things like appraisals come in lower. Where people are having issues with financing. And I do think, more often than not, deals come together, but letting people know along the way is so important. So I guess out of the gate, what does it look like for you guys when you're considering putting in an offer? What steps are you taking to connect with the agents on the other side? Karen.
Generally, when I schedule a showing, and I know this is a buyer that I have some experience with now, they're not just fresh out the gate, they've been looking, they've been pre-approved.
Yeah.
I will email the listing agent ahead of time and introduce myself, tell them I'm showing your listing today. I just like to know if you have any offers in hand, and when will your sellers be looking to close. That's generally how I start out.
I love that. I'm gonna keep referencing back in the day, and that just is gonna be 2017, 2018, 2019. But like back in the day, listing agents would reach out and say, hey, this is a list of information you should know prior to showing my property so you can show it really well. And that used to feel really good when people would send that information over, and you can be like, well, this is a new AC, it was put in 2015, they did the roof, so having that information out of the gate, listing agents are going to need to be shifting their marketing and their connection with agents as well. So I think asking, do you have information that I should be conveying to my clients is really important. And it makes you look amazing when you're showing homes. So you have that information on the forefront. But
super important, I agree, establishing a good communication and relationship with the other agent.
Yep. Yeah. And I know that sounds maybe crazy because again, the last few years have been, here are all the offers, which one do you want? And now it is about, okay, here are the offers. Do we want to counter this one? Do we want a multiple counter? So having the conversation that, hey, these are points that my clients could adjust on, or we sent an offer over. Would you mind keeping me posted if something else comes in, or, giving me the opportunity to improve my offer before you accept something. So I always have that conversation, and more often than that, a listing agent will come back and say, hey, could you think about whatever? But, you can multiple counter. I always will ask, can you just counter me first? And see if that, if they'll go that path, which I know that sounds, but why not? You got to ask. So if you have a strong offer, just counter me first if there's something you need to adjust. Yeah. So, but again, you're creating that relationship out of the gate. The other big thing, I guess, just putting out there is, I know we've been waiving inspections, we've been waiving them aggressively, or we've been putting money towards an inspection. Not that that's not something we can still do, but inspections are back on the table, and repair negotiations are very real. Laura, I know you had some interesting experiences. Would you be willing to kind of share about maybe that last VA loan that you?
Oh, yeah. That one. let me think. That one actually went pretty smoothly, I think, right? Yeah.
Well, but so previous offers, you had not had to
Oh,
negotiate for
yeah,
repairs.
Right.
You had not had to address it. Could you
Yeah.
just kind of explain what
Yeah.
that
so-
process looked like on?
So the VA loan, that one actually, we didn't have, it was the last loan, the one that had a contingency, a home sale.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, that one. So that was actually the first, like, of my transactions that I was able to negotiate, that it wasn't like, I'll give you their child, you know, like, I really went to bat thinking this. And the agent said, she was like, I mean, we could just put it on the market, back on the market. I'm like, you definitely can, but I feel like that's a lot of work, so. But we went through them, like, there was a lot of things wrong with the home. And I think people have gotten so used to just saying, we'll take it, we'll take it, we'll take it. And then I think some clients or some people don't really understand the difference between, you know, home maintenance and like what you should ask for. So I think that people on the sell side have really lost their marbles a little bit with understanding, like, yes, what's home maintenance and what they should be offering to fix, you know, like, because that's not home maintenance, like it's a defect or it's something wrong or it's something that's. And then I think on the buy side, I feel like people have kind of, if people that don't know that much about owning homes, then they don't really know, like, what should you expect in home maintenance, you know? So it's like, if you're buying a house that's 30 years old, to me, and it has the original furnace, like, yeah, you can consider that a defect, or you can know that you're buying a house for this price point and you're probably gonna have to put in a new furnace in the next year or two. You know, and that to me is more so like, you either accept that and you're buying it with that in mind, but to really like go into it and be like, well, this is just defective and I need a new one. It's like, well, it's a 30-year-old house. So it's not, it lasted 30 years quite well,
Yeah.
you know? So, but I ended up getting a $15,000 closing cost credit. And they fixed, I think, 4 of the 15 things, or 11, maybe 12 things that I sent over. Which I thought was huge, you know.
Well, and to like, just give you some major credit, Laura called me after this inspection and was like, this deal is falling apart, we're not moving, you know, there's no way we can get this to come together. And she advocated for her clients, she continued to push, she got contractors out there and really made numbers make sense for everybody involved. And she communicated like, yeah, you can put it back on market, but you're gonna be disclosing all of these defects. So you can work with us and figure it out and move forward, or, you know, yeah, put it back on market. But I think that's a perfect example of like, hey, this is a terrifying inspection, it's not going anywhere. My client, you know, whatever, to a $15,000 credit for them to be able to fix the things they need to fix and to, you know, live comfortably in their home. So, so I think,
Also,
yeah.
throw in something?
please.
I had a recent situation with, working with buyers that, they're in the process of purchasing an 1870 home on
Holy-
4.5 acres, and they have a deeded spot on a pier, like they have deeded lake access, so and 2 barns, like there was a lot that went
Yeah.
into this. We wrote the offer, we were the only offer, it was on the market 20 some days. And then after our offer was accepted and we scheduled the home inspection, we did the home inspection. The day of the home inspection, I was informed that they received a secondary offer. So anything that we found on that home inspection, he essentially told me, you can go ahead and try, but we have a solid offer, and my sellers are probably going to take the secondary offer. So we went back and forth a couple of times, and I called somebody that I knew in HVAC because I knew the plumbing and the AC were a big issue. And I said, can I meet them over there? This is Friday of Labor Day weekend. I got an HVAC guy to meet me at 1 o'clock in the
Amazing.
afternoon. Yeah. And he looked at everything and he's like, yeah, this is like a $100 fix. Everything else should last like a couple of years. So that one statement by that one person was the difference between my buyers saying, okay, we'll take this house, and them saying, you know, forget it. So just having those conversations and having those contractors that are willing to work with you and meet you there and talk you through stuff is the difference between a deal falling apart or not.
Totally. I think, again, now that inspections are back on the table, so much of our job is, I don't want to say a therapist, but a little bit, whereas our job to help put things in perspective, like you know, had your clients walked away from this amazing property, it sounds like an incredible property, over $100 HVAC fix, you
Right.
know, how terrible would they feel?
Right, and they were previously gonna walk away because of pricing, and then, you know, there was the back and forth about that, but just trying to stay neutral is very difficult because it's an emotional situation.
Totally.
But they also had a decorator, a painter, several other people meet us there on the day of the home inspection. I cleared it with the seller, like we have a couple other contractors, I cleared that, but just having those conversations with the listing agent, hey, is it okay if they bring, you know, X, Y, and Z? They'd rather you have X, Y, and Z there all at the same time than the back and forth of, hey, I need somebody coming in tomorrow and then the next day and that kind of thing, so.
Totally. And kind of what you touched on, honestly, it is our job to help put things in perspective and to help break down like, okay, these are major issues and we do need to address them versus this is one GFCI outlet, like, let's put that in perspective and not throw away a transaction over that. So
Yeah, and
Christy.
like just setting up those expectations is so important, of, there's stuff wrong with every house. Just, and like, what Laura had said about, home maintenance versus
correct.
like true defects, they're, you know, just really making sure going into the process of their offer that they understand that.
Yep. And like even, again, I know everybody kind of works in a different area, but what Sherry was chatting on, a 1870 home versus a 1970 home is gonna be very different, and setting the expectations of different builds and, you know, and even honestly, new construction, I've had inspections done on those where it's like, hey, there's a punch list here that needs to get done. So
Yeah, there could be mold found in the attic of a 10-year-old home. I had that happen where
Yeah.
it wasn't vented to the exterior.
just straight into the attic.
It was just venting right into the attic.
Yeah.
Also on mold, I want everybody to know, you have to have a conversation with your buyers. If there is mold found or asbestos or things of that nature, is that going to be a deal killer for you? Because I lost a deal because of mold. They walked away, didn't care about the earnest money, they were done. It was a non-issue, even though they were going to make all the repairs and essentially replace the roof and all of the rafters and everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
But yeah, having that conversation, out of the gate. And I think, I mean, to add, what are our thoughts on testing contingencies right now?
I mean, after this happened with the mold thing, I have more conversations on the front end
Mhm.
and I send more literature to my buyers on the front end. Like when you learn those expensive mistakes, you don't want to
You
do
don't
it
ever
again.
do it
Like,
again.
that's like awful.
It's the worst feeling.
Yeah,
It-
and just like the mold thing, like the right to cure and not to right to cure, and I didn't have enough conversations about that with my buyers, what that actually means.
Mhm.
Like if there's mold found, do you still want this house? And if their answer is no, then they don't have a right to cure. Like it's just having those conversations and understanding what that means.
I'm gonna, again, blow some minds over here, but back in the day, I never right to cure on inspection, on anything, and that was like, you could do it, like, that was not even a question,
And
and
that was just like, so then if your buyers wanted to walk away, they.
so you have an inspection, it doesn't go well, you could list, you know, this electrical socket is defective,
Right,
we're out.
we're out.
Yep. So not that we're, you know, totally moving in that direction, but that used to be like a very common, that was standard for most of my offers was no right to cure, and it wasn't questioned. So being really strategic in how you present those items to your clients and, you know, having that conversation now more than ever where, the ability to negotiate for either a closing cost credit or repair really does, you know, benefit your client, and you have a little bit of wiggle room to do that now. Do you guys know the benefit of a closing cost credit versus price reduction for negotiation?
Well, I feel like I just learned this on my last deal, like. When you have somebody run the numbers for you and, you know, a price reduction, let's say if it's like $5 or $7 grand or $10 grand, it's. Very nominal in the grand scheme of things of your mortgage payment. So
dollars,
for me,
$2,
like,
something like.
fight for that $15,000 closing credit, that was so much less that they had to bring to the table versus getting a $15,000 price reduction. I think it was gonna be like $20 less a month or something on their mortgage, which seems like nothing, right? But $15,000 that you don't have to bring to the closing table is huge.
That's something I do typically right out of the gate, talking with a lender. Once we're accepted, just for my knowledge, if we were to ask it for a closing cost credit across the board for anything, what would that maximum amount be? And then you know that you have that number in, your back pocket. So,
And
Chrissy,
I have a question regarding, I just learned this, getting an accepted offer with a limited listing agent that basically you're working with the seller directly.
mhm,
But he happened to be a real estate attorney.
okay,
That was tricky. And we got an accepted offer at 1 a.m. It was fun, but, so my question to you, and that I just learned, this was for John, Ugula, wait, I'm saying, thank you, Beloa's client, but that we had initially added for informational purposes only a home inspection.
mhm,
And he educated me in the details that if you still check that box, you can still have an order of defects.
correct,
And get out of the deal based on those defects. And I was like, what? And this real estate attorney knew that and was like, yeah, that's not gonna work for me because they can still get out.
yes.
So I did not, that was like, well, mine just got loaned, we can still add that because most people aren't a real estate attorney.
Yeah, so you can have an inspection, so that's where some of this language gets a little bit hairy, 'cause it's like, yes, but then you still have an inspection contingency checked on your offer. You still have to pick, shall or shall not have the right to cure, it defaults to shall have the right to cure. So like, you still have a whole list of ways to get out of it, so people don't necessarily love the for informational purposes only, because it still does leave a window for you to be able to walk away. So, yeah, and again, a little hairy, but at least if you're thinking about how do I improve my inspection contingency, I do like the, putting a certain dollar amount towards.
We ended up having to go that route, and having $8,000 of issues that came up. But that's what ended up getting the accepted offer. At
Nice.
1 a.m.
Okay, yeah, so again, it's coming down to that nitty gritty language, and oftentimes these offers are very similar because we've come out of this. Us as agents have trained our clients, and we're, I would say, really well trained in the we're not messing around, we're going in strong, we're not, even if there are only a few offers on the table, where it used to be, as I said, I never gave the right to cure, like ever.
I can't even imagine that.
I know, right? Like that, I've never. There's also language, just to put it out there, as people are, I think, being more aware of what they're disclosing on their condition reports. But right underneath the inspection contingency, there's verbiage basically saying that anything on the condition report you have actual knowledge of and don't have the ability to have that negotiated. So if somebody is disclosing, we have a leak in our basement and it's from whatever, failing downspouts. So now you have knowledge of that, you have actual knowledge, and you technically are not supposed to go back and say, hey, fix this leak in the basement, because you had an awareness of it prior to putting in an offer. However, there's language right underneath the inspection contingency that I, again, used to always just have stricken out. If you strike it out, it gives you the ability to say, no, we don't have actual knowledge of this, and we'll go off of our inspection and any, additional inspectors or reports that we need done. So maybe that's something we can start adding back into offers. Anyway, okay. I've been all over the place with you guys. What are you guys seeing as a struggle right now with buyers? What's something we can chat on that, you would benefit in educating your clients on or yourself on? Is there anything that's jumping to mind? Laura,
Contingencies, home sale contingencies.
nice, totally. So those are 1,000% back as well. Or at least, I don't know, I've seen a handful of them in the recent weeks. Has anybody else been writing with the home sale contingency or, yeah, it's. Okay, so, so you've not utilized one yet?
I did on my last one, but like, I've been telling you about those clients that are kind of like wishy-washy about selling before they buy and it will be a home sale contingency. Do you feel like in this market that it's gonna be changing and that's like, people are starting to write them, but I feel like is spring gonna come and we're gonna be in the same boat if they don't, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, because it's winter, so it's gonna be winter here for like eternity.
Yeah,
Like, is this just like a fluke and like home sale contingencies are gonna get accepted for 3
hard
months?
to
And
say.
then, like, come spring, because I keep telling them, like, I feel like if you wait, we're gonna be in the same boat in spring. Like, I understand your hesitation, but I feel like if we don't keep looking and trying, come spring, you're still gonna be an offer with a home sale contingency.
100%. So I don't know what spring will bring. However, I like literally my mantra is give me a fall market any day. Like literally just give me a fall market. Regardless of how crazy the year has been, fall is just people that are trying to get into school districts have already done it. People that are, trying to make moves for the most part, they've done it. So now you've eliminated a handful of buyers and your competition's, significantly lower. Every year I'm like, I'm gonna call those clients that are like, I'm gonna buy in spring. No,
Right.
please buy in, September, October, November, please, please, please. Just because spring is always more intense because people, again, regardless of the market, have those goals of moving before the school year ends, getting into school districts, things of that nature. So,
I just had a conversation with the buyer saying I had my best, one of my best months in December. So, yes, the market's shifting, but it's still a seller's market. So,
Yep.
and you do have less competition when you're off.
literally, if you have anyone in your pipeline that's been like, yeah, a couple of months, like, I hit it home. This is the time to do it. If you don't want the chaos, if you don't want the extra, cash towards whatever, let's start looking now. So it's worth a phone call.
I did have, an offer that was rejected that was, we had 14 offers on the table just last week.
Yep.
So it's still like.
Yeah, no, I know. And I'm telling people truly, like, there's no rhyme or reason. Like, there might be, I don't know, I just had an accepted offer with a house that was on market for 2 weeks. Wasn't anything on the table. I wrote, and then another offer came in. They were waiting in the eaves and we ended up getting it, but like 2 weeks and nothing. And then, so like people are still doing that. We're still waiting. They're still looking. Their feelers are out. But yeah, it's, and again, that's the communication piece with your client. Hey, there might be 15 offers on this house, or there might be 2. Let's talk about the tiers of how we want to write our offer. So, and I do think it's important to talk to them about how a seller is perceiving their offer. So if you have a client who, was thinking they were going to go in and ask and are like, well, there's nothing else on the table. Let me go 20 under. Okay, we can try, but is the seller going to feel great when 4 other offers come in because we know this is a great house and we saw, a handful of people at our showing? No, they're going to think that you're not motivated. You don't actually want the house, or you could go in the same way you would have had you, not heard there weren't other offers on the table. And then, you can escalate from there or you can improve from there. So I always talk about, what is the seller seeing when they receive this offer? Down to, I know this sounds crazy. I had clients on the listing side and we received feedback from a showing and they said, the house was okay. Maybe, it's fine, blah, 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 blah. They ended up writing a really strong offer. And my client was like, but we were kind of turned off by the feedback and like, do they actually want this house? Or so really thinking about like start to finish, how are you presenting your client to these agents and to these sellers so that you're really giving them the best shot in, you know, in an interesting time. So,
And that you're Sally Sunshine Abbie always when you're talking with that other agent.
well, I mean, I'm not Sally Sunshine necessarily, but I am just like, you know, I'm sure we've all had the phone calls with the super jaded agents who are like, just send me the document. You're like, yeah, like, I can do that, but I'm gonna say, you know, I'm gonna say it nicely. Where I just like transactions can be lovely or they can be painful. And at the end of the day, you're gonna have to work, our market is small enough where you're gonna be working with these agents time and time again, and having good rapport with them means all the difference. And truly, I mean, I'm not here to toot my own horn, but I've definitely had offers picked in the past because they're like, Abbie, we know you will get it done and that you're an enjoyable person to work with, and it's, you know, you're gonna manage your client appropriately. So, you know, be the agent that other agents want to work with is kind of my big message for this market moving forward.
I just want to add in there, do you hear about like the way that Abbie speaks? It's like, she's so professional. It's not that she's necessarily like over the top or like anything you want. It's like, no, she's showing up as a professional and like, I think underlining, imagining what it looks like from start to finish, because we haven't had to do that. We
No,
haven't had to do it. So the people that knew how to do it already were doing it, but like a lot of people didn't do that. And it's like, that's one of the things that we can control is how we paint the story for our clients, because we're showing up as their advocator.
correct.
So,
And really, like, you know, you're a reflection of your client. So if you're kind of gruff and, you know, not that pleasant to chat with on the phone, like that doesn't leave a great taste in the mouth of the agent. Why would they but direct their client towards your offer if they're like, this is going to be miserable? You know, no one wants to subject their clients to that on either side. So,
last thing I'm gonna say, and then I step
Yeah.
off, but and the other thing is if you have bad news or things that are, you're like, oh, this is gonna fall apart. It's like, that's gonna happen. And the way that you interact with people, like I've got agents that I still like will run into and be like, oh my God. Like,
yeah,
our deal was a shit show. But it's like, how do you present yourself and try to come together? And if you can't come together, like, that doesn't mean you have to be like, no, I hate your guts. Like,
no,
it's like, hey, like, thank you. You have mutual respect.
totally. Some of my most challenging transactions, I am closest with those agents. They're not even in our broker, you know, but
Yeah.
like we check in on it because it was such a bonding experience of like all of us just trying to, you know, keep it together and, you know, make sure our clients got out on the other side. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's what we can do for our people. Yeah. Any other thoughts or feelings, emotions about this current market that you're curious about or wondering what that looks like? I don't know. Have you guys been giving up less in offers, do you feel like, or
Have we been what?
like giving up less, if you will? Where before I would address every single, like, you know, well, whatever my client was willing to do, but, you know, a minimum of 3% earnest money, you know, potentially waiving inspection or putting a significant amount of money towards inspection. Similar with appraisal, things of that nature. Are you guys still doing that? What does that look like?
I guess for me, it depends on if there's other offers and
Yeah.
how long it's been on the market and
Yeah.
if it's overpriced. I mean, there's just a lot of variables.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm still seeing clients with that mentality that this is what we need to do to win, and that's fine, but I think also coaching them in like, hey, maybe we don't need to do all of that to win as well. So. Yeah. I don't know. I hope this was somewhat beneficial, you guys, and not too talking at you and just more providing information. If you have any questions about what things looked like back in the day and the shift that is happening, please just, feel free to reach out. Happy to chat on it. And this is like let your skill set shine right now, you guys. Feels really good. That's how I feel. I don't know. It's just nice to be able to chat and negotiate. All right.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Abbie.